Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again, of course, with some more geography. Now, we're on to Palau. I think that's what they said last time. Palau, I think so. But anyways, know nothing about this country, nothing whatsoever. I think this might have been the first time I've ever seen the flag. I mean, I guess I would have seen the flag before, like in the Olympics or something, but I don't remember. So, yeah, I guess similar to Japanese flag. But anyways, yeah, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button below, and let's check it out. Hope I didn't offend nobody by saying it looked like the Japanese flag when maybe it is the Japanese flag looks like, the cloud flag, right? Because this one could have came first. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, guys. We're just here to have fun and learn. That's what we do here. Bam.
All right, Palau. If you want the quick summary, once upon a time there was a custody battle with a child between the US and Japan, but also the Philippines too, kind of. Yet for some reason, Spain and Germany were arguing, yet the baby was technically descended from Taiwan, who had no claim over it, yet gave them a lot of money because they didn't want China to get too cozy, and they make great barbecue.
Okay.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. I love Oceania, the world's least talked about and explored region. Palau is a nation that's just starting to make its debut on the vacation getaway list. People are now just starting to talk about it. Each island kind of tells a different story. Let's jump into the map now, shall we? Palau has gone through so much chaos and yet is still kind of lucky. Lucky in the sense that, unlike their other Micronesian cousins, geographically, they kind of have a sweet spot close to the major landmasses. For one, the country is located between the Philippine Sea and the North Pacific. It is essentially the furthest western part of the Carolina Islands and the Pacific Ocean region known as Micronesia, not to be confused with the Federated States of Micronesia, which is a country within Micronesia. And it is the closest to major landmasses of Asia and Australasia. The nation is just east of the Philippines and north of the West Papua region of Indonesia, shared with Papua New Guinea. It is made up of over 340 islands, some say as much as 500 if you include smaller rocks and islets. The largest one being Babeldaw Island, which holds the capital Melekeok, or Narolmud, yeah, that's how you pronounce it, which is the least populated capital in the world with only about 400 people.
Wow.
Cool capital building, though. You can also find the largest airport most people fly into, being 100 people. Cool capital building, though. You can.
Wow, look at usually, when you see like capitals, you got Capitol building here, and then you see like a whole like town kind of around it. Man, this looks like, wow, awesome. Only 400 people in the capital. I guess only 400 people will live in the capital. I mean, I don't see a whole lot unless maybe they all live in the Capitol building. I don't know. Interesting.
You can also find the largest airport most people fly into, being Roman Temetuchi International. However, there are also small airstrips that service the Anguar and Pelelu Islands. Nonetheless, the largest city is Koror, which is on a separate island, just south of Babeldaw, which is where most of the commerce and action happens. The country is further divided into 16 states, each with their own little flag. Don't forget these little islands way down south, known as the Southwest Islands, also belonging to them as well. The Hatoho Bay State is the furthest one, made up of Toby and the Helen Reef, the southernmost point nearly 400 miles or 640 kilometers from Babeldaw. Populated by only about 43 people, making it the least populous first-level administration in the world. Helen Reef only has like 3 people living on it. Most of the country is interconnected through a series of water taxis.
I'm just guessing, maybe you guys can let me know, those who visit there or live there, those 3 people, they gotta be from the same family, right? It's probably like, mom and dad and their kid, just bought the island outright. I mean, right? I can't see, 3 single people just living there with their own houses. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but definitely this stuff definitely interesting. Anyways, 43 people. Obviously, there's probably like a dozen families over there. But then again, it could be like 4 huge families or something. I don't know.
Helen Reef only has like 3 people living on it. Most of the country is interconnected through a series of water taxis and ferries that hop between islands, Malakal Harbor being the largest shipping port. However, at about 68 kilometers or 38 miles, Babeldaw Island is the only one with an extensive roadway network that goes all the way to Conley, the northernmost point of the country, crossing over into Koror via the Koror-Babeldaw Bridge, whereas 2 other islands, Mayungs and Malakal, are also connected via bridge. Speaking of Palau's geographic uniqueness, it's also important to note that just like we mentioned in the Marshall Islands Islands and Federated States of Micronesia episodes, Palau is the third and final compact free association state with the USA. What is compact free association?
Yeah.
Ken, explain.
A compact free association means that Palauans, Marshallese, and Micronesians not only have access to certain U.S. social services like mail, education, and defense, but they are also allowed to freely enter and move about the USA and live there with no issues. Citizenship also comes easy if they wish to apply for it.
And thank you, Ken. You'll notice a lot of the buildings and sites have plaques dedicated to the countries that have funded or invested in them. The bridge was built by the Japanese, the Capitol was built by the Taiwanese, but inspired by Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. The list goes on. Otherwise, I talked to some of you guys, the Palauan geography peeps. Yes, we have people from Palau that watch this show. And many of you gave me a list of notable places to check out in case if you decide to visit, such as the National Museum, the Eptison Museum, the Nurulmud Capitol Building, the stone-faced monoliths of Ngarechlong, the Tet El Bad stone coffin, the Yapese quarry site in Sunken Stone, Bloody Nose Ridge, so many World War II Japanese sites, including a Shinto shrine, Thousand Man Cave in PALAU, Milky Way Rock Islands, the Kavanael Atoll. Yeah, I can tell how there's kind of like a lot of World War II and Japanese stuff lingering around. Yeah, we'll explain how it got that way in a sec. But first, let's go swimming with some non-poisonous jellyfish, shall we?
Good. Well, for me, like a small country, you definitely have some stuff to do. Besides, obviously, for vacation-wise, and for, I guess, tourist-wise, you want some stuff to do, and you guys definitely have it to offer, but usually, I'm sure you guys also have amazing beaches, which is another probably great reason why people, flock there. So, wow. So you guys are just now kind of being noticed and basically be swallowed with tourism now. Be ready for it. But that's a good thing, right? It's more money.
Yeah, they have a cool lake with non-poisonous jellyfish you can swim with. It's like one of their top tourist destinations. However, due to overcrowding, the government limits visits to avoid harming the fragile ecosystem. And that's the thing, Palau is a front runner in oceanic conservation efforts. About 60% of its marine area is protected territory. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves though. First off, Palau essentially sits right on the Ring of Fire at the Palau Trench, which is an offshoot crack near the Mariana Trench, not too far from Challenger Deep, the deepest oceanic depth discovered. This is basically how the country formed, as volcanic activity forged the islands we see today in a long, wispy, speckled archipelago following the large Babeldaub Island, which is the second largest island in Micronesia after Guam. Most of the country is lush and green with tropical vegetation. Most volcanic activity is extinct today, and the tallest point, Mount Narellas, lies on Babeldaub. In fact, Babeldaub, of course, has all the other extreme physical points, like the largest lake, Lake Nardok, the largest freshwater lake in Micronesia. There are many small rivers and streams that cross the country, the largest one feeding into the Naramedu Bay, like these three, but the largest one, the Nurmeskong River. From there, the country smears into the ocean with small, mostly uninhabited, lush green islets and mangroves enclosed by a giant barrier reef that stretches 490 square miles or 1,260 square kilometers. This place is loaded with too many amazing natural sites like the Rock Islands, a UNESCO heritage site, a bunch of mushroom-shaped bulbous islands that pop up out of the ocean like bubble wrap. Coral reefs and diving spots are everywhere, and even underwater caves, the most famous one being the Chandelier Cave at Narol. Otherwise, even though the islands only make up about 177 square miles or 460 square kilometers in area, the nation's exclusive economic zone extends even further to about 200,000 square miles or over 500,000 square kilometers of ocean, about the size of France. In 2009, the government signed over about 80% of which to become a marine reserve and the world's first shark sanctuary, a fully protected no-take zone in which things like mining and fishing cannot take place. Although scuffles with their neighbors crossing into their waters have been documented and ocean pollution coming from said nations have also been an issue from time to time. Oh, and keep in mind, they are generally outside of the typhoon zone and don't usually get hit with them. The largest one was Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, but it only did like a little damage to some houses and there are no fatalities or major injuries reported. All right, so that's just about it. It's time for my triple shot of espresso break, which means it's time for Noah.
My turn. Palau is a tropical island nation, so of course, no surprise, you're gonna find some tropical stuff with their physical makeup. There are about 150 species of bird found in Palau, including the national animal, the fruit dove, over 1,300 species of fish, and 700 species of coral. In terms of mammals, there are less than 20 species, most of which are water mammals like dugongs and whales. Otherwise, on land, they have 3 main bat species, including the endemic large Palau flying fox and the crab-eating macaque monkey. Economically speaking, they are relatively better off than most Pacific Island nations, as the third wealthiest nation by GDP per capita in Oceania after Australia and New Zealand. The nation depends heavily.
I just want to say, I was going to point this out. I agree. I mean, I kind of noticed that just because the infrastructure they have with like the bridges and stuff like that. it definitely seemed like, compared to like a couple other countries in that area that we've covered here, it definitely looks like there's been more money invested in this country than maybe a couple others. So yeah, I can definitely see where he's coming from here. Well, see where he's coming from. Obviously, it's a fact. He's not just making this up. But yeah, I can see it.
Heavily on three main sectors: subsistence agriculture, fishing, and the most important one, tourism, which in itself makes about 80% of the GDP. Thanks to the various blessed diving spots and white sand beaches, Palau has become an international hotspot for visitors abroad, over 80% of whom come from either Japan, Taiwan, and the US. This employs about 3/4 of the workforce through the service sector. The problem is there are more people coming in than the entire population of Palau, which in return has caused a strain on the people's rush to sustain and accommodate in the long run, as well as avoid environmental damage. This has caused the government to take action on things like instigating a visa policy, limiting the amount of flights and visitors, as well as access to certain islands. Otherwise, everyone's favorite, food. Now in Palau, this
So that must mean, like, since they gotta restrict a certain amount of people coming in there, it's gotta be super expensive, right? I mean, because supply and demand. I mean, if a lot of people want to go there, you raise the price until they're basically not willing to pay it, and obviously a lot of people want to go there. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty expensive probably to go on vacation there. Maybe someone who's been there or lives there maybe can let me know. And yeah, I guess most of the people that are there, I guess, are tourists. So that'd be definitely interesting for the locals. I'm sure that everyone gets kind of get used to it there. And probably they probably make a pretty big penny depending on, I guess, on what you do around there. But yeah, good stuff, man. You guys are doing great.
As well as access to certain islands. Otherwise, everyone's favorite, food. Now in
Fish,
Palau,
right?
the staple you can find with many dishes would most likely be either taro, yams, or tapioca cooked in various ways. And of course, fish. We asked you guys, the Palauan jogger peeps, to give a list of some top notable dishes from Palau. And some things you guys mentioned include things like beltakal soup, tinola, ulkoy, Palauan style halo-halo, fruit bat soup, ugayab. And there are so many fruits like passion fruit, papaya, mango, soursop, and rambutans. And of course, many Western and Asian dishes that permeated the mainstream gastronomy. You can find sushi, burgers, and pizza everywhere as well. Regardless of all the outside influence, the Palauan people have stuck close to their roots and built a nation that is specifically theirs. Which brings us to
their graphics.
Now, Palau is strange. It's like a kind of American-y, Japanese-y hybrid Micronesian confusion fest with some Filipinos sprinkled in for good luck. It's interesting to see how over time they kind of grew into what they are now. First of all, the country only has about 22,000 people and is the 4th least populated nation in the world. The country is made up of primarily people that identify with ethnically Palauan, a Micronesian people group, at about 73%. About 17% are Filipinos, and the rest are other groups, mostly Asians and a few whites, mostly Americans. They use the US dollar as their currency, they use the types A and B plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, Palau's interesting because although the majority of people speak either Palauan or English, there are 5 official languages, including Sonsorol and Tobian, spoken by about 600 people on the 2 islands of Sonsorol and Tobi, and the last one, Japanese, believe it or not.
No way.
Yep, it's actually only official on the island of Anguar, making it the only place outside of Japan in which Japanese is an official language up to the state level.
Cool.
How did it get that way?
Well, long story short, World War II. It was kind of like...
Yeah.
All right, you belong to us now. Start learning Japanese.
Wait, what? All right, Japan's out. Start learning English.
Nani te ite no? Today you can see Japanese written and spoken throughout much of the country, even outside of Anguar. Mostly by elders and de facto speakers as a second language. It is taught as an elective in schools and used widely in the tourism industry to accommodate the influx of Japanese visitors. The Palauan language, though, is pretty interesting. It's classified as an Austronesian language. It only has 10 consonants and 6 vowels. And nobody even knows exactly where the language came from. Like, it's kind of Micronesian, but not exactly. The CH is just a glottal stop and makes no sound. And the NG sometimes sounds like an N, and sometimes a hidden vowel comes out of nowhere. Even if it isn't written, it's confusing. Now, what exactly makes a Palauan a Palauan? Well, first of all, they are part of the broader Micronesian ethnic group along with their siblings, the Marshallese, Micronesians, Guamians, and Mariana Islanders. Let's put it this way. If the Pacific Islands were a family, Palau and Guam would kind of be like the better off, lucky, outgoing, more connected uncles. They have access to international business, whereas their cousins are a little more reserved and less engaging. Now, despite the obvious influence from outside forces like the USA and Japan, Palau still has retained its traditional traditions and customs. And with that, here's Random Hannah with culture stuff.
Look, dude, nobody cares.
Wait, who are you?
I'm Ian.
Get out of here, husband.
Wait, why don't you two just share the whole thing together?
Okay. It is believed that the original inhabitants of Palau came from Austronesian settlers. They originated in what is now Taiwan about 4,500 to 5,000 years ago. Okay, Ian, now you try the second part. Just read the teleprompter.
Okay. Palauans follow traditions and customs similar to their Micronesian cousins. For example, most societies are matrilineal, following inheritance through the mother's side.
Not bad.
Thank you.
The Yap stones we discussed in the Micronesian episode were often carved and shipped out from Palau. Some other aspects of Palauan culture include things like being heavy chewers of betel nut.
They have a firstborn child ceremony.
In traditional dances, women will often wear orange and yellow colored grass.
Betel nut, does that mean like it's just like a nut that's called betel, like a betel nut? It's just a regular nut that's just called betel nut? Or I'm sorry, this is like the smallest thing I'm actually, I'm kind of pointing out here, but yeah, it's just the guy's face eating the nut, I guess. Or is it actually like a beetle, that he's eating? I don't know.
They have a firstborn child ceremony.
In traditional dances, women will often wear orange and yellow colored grass skirts with stone bead necklaces.
And men might be seen wearing dugong vertebrae bracelets.
And baseball is the most commonly played sport. They won numerous Micronesian game titles, and they were the champions of the 2007 Pacific Games in baseball.
Most Palauans adhere to a form of Christianity, either Protestant or Roman Catholic. However, there is a syncretic sect called Modekne that fuses Christianity with tradition Palauan deities,
which is practiced by about 8% of the country.
If there were two symbols that epitomize Palauan identity, though, it would have to be the circle divided into 4 symbolizing wealth and the traditional thatched gable house known as the bai.
Elaborately decorated with painted carvings on the posts and walls, these structures served as community meeting houses and have been constructed before any Western or Eastern involvement. And now we move on to Keith with music no one cares about or wants to see him on the screen.
What's wrong with Keith?
He's a Gators fan.
Keith must die.
By the way, I'm wearing a Rush t-shirt. This shirt is awesome. Rush is...
Hey, I'm a Bama fan.
Die.
By the way, I'm wearing a Rush t-shirt. This shirt is awesome. Rush is my favorite band. I love Rush. That's my commentary on their band. So therefore, they can't sue us for fair use. Music in Palau is interesting because there are really no intellectual property laws or restrictions. So people can kind of just piggyback off of each other without any repercussions. Traditionally, stick dances and percussion were and still are common, especially during events. In terms of mainstream modern music, obviously due to the American and Japanese influence, many songs from Palau include elements taken from each technique and style. They even have their own Palau style of country music.
Thanks, Keith and Hannah. Even though
I like
Hannah's
to
not
hear
here.
that.
Now history. In the quickest way I can put it, Austronesian sailors, most likely indigenous from Taiwan and Papua New Guinea, come in. They mix together. Captain Henry Wilson shipwrecks on Oolong Island. Europeans come in and meet the natives. Prince goes to England but dies of smallpox. British give islands to Spain, introducing Catholicism. Spain sells it to Germany. Japan invades and takes over in World War II. US comes in and fights off Japanese. They become a trust territory of the US. 1994 Compact Free Association with the US and independence. And there we go, pretty much. Some famous people you guys suggested we mention include people like Prince Lee Bu, Haruo Remelik, Gabriela Ngirmang, Kuniwo Nakamura, Lisa Sande, Lazarus Sali, Peoria Koshiba, Steve Patrice, Noah Eteong, Yubi Misia, Keisha Noel Keen, and Kendall Titimel. Alright, that just about sums up this segment. Now we need to Palau through the last segment of this episode, shall we?
I'll cheer for you in the Olympics.
Now, Palau may be small, but they have an interesting way of reaching out to the world. A lot of people seem to want to come, but they're kind of like a little inhibited, and they kind of want to make sure that things don't get too crazy. Filipinos share the same former colonization status under Spain, and at one point was part of the Philippines for a short period of time under the First Philippine Republic before breaking away. Many Filipinos live in Palau, and the Palauan accent even kind of sounds similar to Filipino English. The closest family members are, of course, their fellow Micronesians, the Federated States of Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, Guam, and the Mariana Islands. These guys culturally share the most in common, and they love each other. Every so often, they also visit each other as well. Taiwan, on the other hand, is one of the few countries that they recognize as opposed to the People's Republic of China. They give lots of medical and education assistance to Palau that allows Palauans to study in Taiwan. They also have a patient referral program that allows patients to receive treatment in Taiwan. Taiwan also kind of acts as like a shield that fends off the waves of Chinese investors and overwhelming tourists that flock in. For their best friends, though, most might say either Japan or the USA. It's kind of like a weird joint custody battle that both have between the country. Yes, lots of drama happened in World War II, but they quickly moved on. The US is kind of like the stepfather that took them in and gave them lots of resources and opportunities, and also gave them a lot of potential to manage themselves as a small country.
It makes sense though. I mean, because there's a lot like what did we just do? Countries we do where like, I guess the friends really don't get along. Well, these ones, the friends do get along. I mean, obviously, 100 years ago or whatever, World War II, they didn't get along at all. But now, like, Japan and U.S. are best friends, and now Palau has both of them basically as allies. So, man, like, you guys hit the jackpot there, because it's not like those two hate each other. So, only good things can happen for you guys. But then again, I guess if they didn't like each other, then you could kind of use that against them and like get more stuff, right? I don't know.
Lots of resources and opportunities, and also gave them a lot of potential to manage themselves as a small country. Japan is and will always be, though, close to their hearts. They are the second largest donor after the US. The emperor and his wife visited in 2015. They love Japanese food and culture. The two nations share the same time zone, and overall, even after colonial times, they've had close ties. In conclusion, Palau is kind of like the interesting offshoot Micronesian that kind of speaks a little bit of Japanese, and they're trying to fend off the massive waves of tourists to maintain their natural beauty. Wow. Palau. Stay tuned. Panama is coming up next.
Hold off the waves of tourism, of tourists. Man, that's gotta be a hard life in Palau, man. The tourists, stop coming! Make it sound like it's just a horrible problem to have. I mean, if you're gonna have a problem, fighting off tourism is probably like the best of problems to have, right? Like, that's awesome. I mean, you guys are making money, bank over there. It's like, because you understand, you don't want, wildlife. You don't want too much to kind of, I guess, ruin life there. But obviously, you can manage that by saying only a certain amount are allowed, and you guys already do that. So you guys are doing amazing. So kind of up to you guys, I guess, how much, growth in that department you want, because if you really want a lot, then bang, you fill up a whole bunch of condos. But then I don't think people would go there for the condo experience. I mean, they want, like a foreign, like, cool experience. They don't, you know what I'm saying, right? Don't do the big condos. Do like the cool, like your style stuff. Anyways, guys, very cool country, very big as far as, I guess, area is concerned, but like very small. But you guys look, you got everything got going on together. It doesn't seem like there's any like internal like tensions or anything like that, and got a bunch of good allies. So seems like a nice, happy, cool place to live, from what I can see. So maybe you guys can let me know in the comments. Definitely a really cool country. If you're from there, let me know in the comments. It's always cool to see people from these countries. It's always cool to know if you guys watch this video from those countries. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but yes, that'd be great. But anyways, hit that like and subscribe button below, please. That'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, I hope you continue the ride. Doing every country in the world, alphabetical order. Also got other cool playlists, on war and history and stuff. So definitely check out that stuff out. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you for watching. You guys have a great day, a great night. I'm out of here. Peace.